evening, sim racing fans, and as we get set to kick off the most magical week in motorsports, we welcome you to LSRTV from the home of NASCAR, Charlotte Motor Speedway, as we kick off the conclusion of the month of May, all leading up to this weekend's coverage, wherever you are across the world. Monaco Grand Prix, the Indianapolis 500, the Coca-Cola 600 on national television. But it all starts tonight here on the web on LSRTV with coverage of Real Sim Racing's Full Throttle Cup Series, the World 225. 150 laps here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and the fastest mile and a half in the South is going to be host to a whole lot of racing tonight. Our crew up inside the tower, Jacob Seelman, myself, along with Evan Pasoko and Brian Macklin. Justin Rosenau down on pit lane. I'll go across the table to you first, Evan, because as we come to the home of NASCAR, we're in the backyard. That makes this race very, very important to all of these teams to try and win tonight.
If you ask a driver which racetrack they have a lot of seat time at, it's most likely the Charlotte Motor Speedway. If these guys have been on iRacing for 1 year or more than 4, this is the first track that you got your official oval racing down in. Back in the street stocks you've progressed through. The official iRacing.com series has already been here throughout the top 2 touring series with the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series cars, and then as well the trucks have been here. A lot of practice. We're under the lights. There's a lot of grip. There's a high speeds, and there's a full field on what's going to be our version of our Memorial Day event, because we're off next Monday night to let everybody enjoy that with their families. It should be a good one. And Jacob, there's a lot of red, white, and blue out there on track tonight.
There's a lot of patriotic schemes, and we'll talk about a few of them here as we go along through the night. But one of the guys who is running a patriotic scheme, Brian Macklin, is on top of the world right now. Thomas George in the Snap-on Tools Chevrolet #1. Pole provisionally here, 14 of 20 minutes down in this open qualifier. And you know what? He's been good everywhere. He picked up a win at Atlanta. He was fast at Texas, and I like that #1. He's on a mission to try to go to victory lane again tonight.
Yeah, I actually spoke with Thomas earlier today, and he said he was extremely excited about coming here to Charlotte. This is one of his favorite racetracks, and as you already said, he's been really good on all the other mile and a halves that we've visited so far this year. He's got a beautiful paint scheme, along with a lot of other guys out there tonight. Right now, he's on pole. He's looking good. He was fast in practice, and I look for him to be one of the top contenders tonight. He's got a good car. He's looking like he's going to have a good starting position, and he's probably going to put on one heck of a show.
We are very much looking forward to it. We are a few minutes away from gridding and starting up this race here tonight. And for more on some of the favorites and the guys that we need to keep our eyes on here as we go forward through 225 miles, we'll throw it down to our Ford Performance pit reporter, Justin Rosenau.
The guys to watch here tonight not only are the Steel Horse Racing guys, but a team on the rise. That's it, a team on the rise, gentlemen. How about the RCO Boomtown guys? Mitch Rollo, Anthony DeBarro. You also have the 69 of Corbin Hemstreet, as well as the 87 as well of Christopher Hurlow. Those 4 guys, those 4 RCO Boomtown cars, all inside the top 10 here in qualifying, and they have been steadily on the rise in all of the real sim racing world. These guys are going to make their hard charge to the front here and look for them to try to get a breakthrough win here tonight at Charlotte.
I'm looking forward to seeing it. All 4 of them make the big show for the first time in RCO Boomtown's tenure in the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series. And Mitch Rollo had the pole for a while in this session before Thomas George took it away. Evan, they're trying to go out, make one more run, and draft towards the front of the field. You know, you can get a little bit of a tow here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and one of the guys who knows how to qualify on these intermediate tracks is running as a satellite car to those Boomtown Sim entries tonight. The 22 Bobby Terrell, who's subbing for William Kemp, is running as a satellite entity to that Boomtown squad this evening. He knows a lot about Charlotte.
And those Boomtown cars as well with Exclaim graphics on their Chevys tonight, so do want to make a call to those sharp-looking green paint schemes that they have up there. But you talk about Rollo DeBarro, P2, P3, it's not all that bad for having 2 of your top cars inside of the top 5. We've talked about Thomas J. George, though. He's currently sitting on the provisional pole, Jacob. He's sitting ahead of these guys by 2/100ths of a second. There's still about 3 minutes left. He's not even going out there to try to get a little bit more insurance. I feel like that Snap-on Chevy's like it, that number 1 machine being P1 right now, but we have seen so many times in weeks past that they can just not catch a break during the race. It's one thing to be fast on qualifying. It's another thing to translate that into a win. We know he's got the equipment to do it. We know he's got the talent to do it tonight. Can things fall in the right direction? And will we see one of these patriotic paint schemes in victory lane at the end of the night?
Thomas is also going to be our in-race reporter here later on in the evening, and I'm looking forward to hearing what he's got to say. He likes this racetrack, and he compares it a lot to Atlanta despite the tire wear factor. So we think that George may just be a factor. We'll talk to him in just a couple of minutes once we wrap up this qualifying session. Again, George, Rollo, DeBarro, Adam Benefield jumps up to 4th on his most recent lap, tied with David Comstock in the top 5, who's a 2-time winner this season. And Justin Rosenau, I'll throw it back down to you. Comstock also with some patriotic flair to his Monster Energy number 14 Chevrolet SS here this evening.
Yeah, the number 14 entry of David Comstock flying some special colors here tonight said he was very proud to try to be representing our nation's colors on his race car here tonight. And Comstock, one of the best drivers you'll find here in the Full Throttle Cup Series in real sim racing, let alone the talent to go pro as well. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with, as he's always been Mr. Consistency at the front of the pack.
All right, it's time to lay down the gauntlet. Evan, Brian, I'll start with you, Evan, because we talk about a lot of guys, and we've said all season long the competition this year is as deep as the Full Throttle Cup Series has ever been. 15 to 20 guys that, if the circumstances fall their way, could be in victory lane any given night. Evan, who do you like here for this 225-miler?
Well, I want to give it to that number 1 team because we have talked about it week in and week out. Just the lack of any luck that they have had all season long, but they have been strong. He's got the paint scheme to go with the evening. He's sitting on top of the pile. I think he's looking pretty good. Over, I think you don't really want to call this driver a dark horse, but I feel like that 01 machine's going to be very fast. Adam Benefield in the Rust Bucket Ford Fusion, we'll call it this evening. That car's P4 on the boards right now. I think that he might be another driver to watch out, but I'm taking the safe pick, we'll call it. I think Thomas J. George finally going to break that curse.
And I'm going to go with a little bit of a different pick. Not one that you wouldn't expect at the front. He's been fast every week. He hasn't had a lot of luck. I'm going with the Rust Bucket machine, Adam Benefield. He's got speed at every track that we go to. He's always a contender. He hasn't had the luck that he's wanted. He hasn't really broke out and gotten that victory yet, but he is one of the fastest guys week in and week out. He's sitting 4th in qualifying right now. If things go his way, I expect him to be the guy up front winning this race tonight.
And I'll go different from both of you right here. I'm going to take the 96 of Mitch Rollo. I started to say all 3 of you, but I haven't talked to Justin yet. I'm going to go with the 96 of Mitch Rollo. He's looking for redemption. I think the 96, he almost won at this track back in October. Just didn't have everything quite go his way. Led up there going into turn 1 after thinking the white flag lap was the checkered flag lap. So I think Rollo gets redemption. Justin?
I think I'm going to stay in the same camp as you, Jacob. I'm going to go with the number 9 of Anthony DeBarro. He has been credited as one of the guys that have really helped RCL really take that next step in real sim racing. So I'm going to go with the number 9 of Anthony DeBarro.
And that was a report from our Ford Performance pit reporter, Justin Rosenau. Ford, go further. And we're also now going to take a look at our Ford starting lineup as we get set to roll for 150 laps at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And on the pole, going to be the Snap-on Patriotic Chevrolet. Thomas George to his outside. My pick for tonight, the number 96 Exclaim Graphics RCO Boomtown machine. That's Mitch Rollo.
His teammate going to be on the inside of row number 2. 3rd starting spot goes to the number 9 machine of Anthony DeBarro. Outside him, that 01 Adam Benefield's Ford Fusion.
Starting in the 5th position, flying some new Monster Energy colors tonight is David Comstock in the number 14. To his outside is Jeff Ward. He's in the number 89.
Christopher Hurlow starting 7th, his best qualifying effort to date in real sim racing Full Throttle Cup action. A teammate to his outside, the 69 Corbin Hemstreet.
Here comes Bobby. That's Terrell going to be on the inside of row 5 and 9th, and that Muscle Milk number 22. Outside him, the DeWalt Chevrolet. Watch out, it's Chad Cole.
Starting in the 11th position, also flying some special colors tonight, Jonathan Cadell, showing his spirits for the country tonight. He's starting P11. Matt Lacrosse is on his outside. He's starting 12th.
Dwayne Vincent, the points leader, rolls 13th in car 13. Nathan Little behind him in 14th.
Harrison Weinlett's going to roll from 15th position. Alongside him on the outside, RSR Midnight Thunder Series champion, 16th position, Pedro Mojica.
Dan Murray qualified in at 17th position, and last week's race winner at Richmond, Eric Brundes, he's qualified in at 18th tonight. Let's see if he can go 2 in a row.
19th, Scott Simley, and rounding out the top 20 in some patriotic colors himself, Jimmy North. As you see the rest of the starting grid roll across your screen, we're going to touch base with our in-race reporter, the pole sitter, Thomas George. Thomas George, Jacob Seelman up in the LSRTV broadcast booth. You got a copy there, buddy?
10-4, I got you.
All right, my friend. P1, you've got the best seat in the house to kick off one of our marathon races. It's part of the Grand Slam, we'll call it, the Real Deal Graphics Challenge. I know you haven't won one of these special races yet. We go into leg 2 of it tonight, and we saw what you did on a mile and a half earlier this season 1 at Atlanta. What's it going to take to do it tonight?
Just a lot of the same stuff we had at Atlanta last time. Just be patient, try to put ourselves in position to win like we did there. And considering last year we had cars that I knew we could have won both these races, I feel pretty good about tonight, but we got a lot of tough competitors tonight.
It's a deep field. What are you watching for? Is the front going to be the place to be to stay out of trouble?
Front's going to definitely be the place to stay out of trouble, but you're also going to have to figure out your pit strategy, and we've got an idea for what we're going to do in one scenario, and we'll adapt if we have to, but I feel good about tonight. Just got to keep an eye on our guys like Adam, David, and Jeff all behind me.
All right, we'll touch base with you later in the race. Good luck.
10-4. Go America.
All right, Evan, here we go. About 2 turns from green. Ready to go?
I say we're ready. I say 43 drivers are ready. We got this field packed through 150 laps on tap at one of the fastest intermediate tracks on the sim. Let's do this thing.
Once again, for all our soldiers, our troops across the world, and all of you viewers at home watching on LSR TV, thank you for tuning in tonight. We're ready to go green for the World 225. Thomas George on the point, and the American Ethanol green flag goes in the air. George on the jump and gets away clean as we head down to turn 1. Mitch Rollo and Anthony DeBarro, the teammates, going to the inside. They want to make something happen as we head to 1 and 2 for the first time tonight.
And DeBarro putting that move on the own of Adam Benefield. They were side by side for third. Gets the spot, now has to check up a little bit, and powering on the outside of quarter 2, running down those 24 degrees of bank. It is the A Designs wrap Ford Fusion on the outside lane. Side by side, door to door, the battle still for P3.
Brian, early in the run, I know everybody likes the inside on fresh tires. The longer this run goes, though, where do you want to be?
I think you're still going to want to go to the bottom of the track as the tires wear out, but you can hold somebody off on the outside once the tires do wear off. So if somebody challenges you and gets to your inside door, you can pinch them down and keep them from getting the run off the corner and hold them off. So as the run goes on, you're going to be able to still go to the bottom of the track, but you can use the outside to defend your position.
We're going to see a lot of side-by-side racing action here as we continue on through the night. We are now working 3 laps in the record books, and side-by-side for third down in turn number 2. We've seen it already for the first couple of laps. Anthony DeBarro and Adam Benefield.
And they still haven't quite figured things out here yet. Benefield up at the outside. Maybe a tire went off of making that a nose-to-nose fight. It's interesting to see what the car behind him's doing, Jacob. The 14 to David Comstock. He went to the high side to work with the 01, went to the bottom to work with the 9, and this time the 9 does get the job done. 3 laps into it, move Anthony DeBarro, now sole possession of third. Meanwhile, how about the top 2 pulling away and knocking on the door to that number 1 is the 96er Rollo.
Yeah, how about Mitch Rollo? He is right there on the rear deck lid of the 1 of Thomas George, down the back straightaway, taking a peek. He wants to look to the inside. Brian, he just can't quite do it. You get so close to somebody, but it is a little bit difficult to pass here at Charlotte, and we got trouble back in the pack. Caution flying for the first time tonight.
Couple of them around Scott. No, that's Justin Wilson's 42. That machine is all torn up. Caution flag will fly. Multiple cars going to get involved in this one after it started down in corner number 3. And the first car, Jacob, that got ushered around was that 21 machine of Matt Lacrosse. He found himself side by side with Nathan Little. They made contact, and once that 21 was in the outside fence and in front of traffic, he collected a couple others.
Yeah, he did, and that's going to put us under the Service Master Clean caution for the first time this evening at lap number 4. Justin Rosenau, Matt Lacrosse, he was hoping to have a good run tonight. I talked to him earlier today. He was looking forward to this racetrack, and unfortunately not going to see a good run play out tonight. A lot of smoke down the front straightaway.
He was looking for a good run here tonight, and just trying to battle for position on the racetrack is what he's telling his crew. Did not necessarily know what Nathan Little was going to do there, and unfortunately the 21 Quick Car Racing Product Chevrolet finds himself in the wall, and a big tangle behind them as well. Several cars with heavy damage here in the early going in the World 225.
And it's big because Matt Lacrosse, Nathan Little, those are two of the names you expect to see towards the front of the field every week here in the Full Throttle Cup Series. Brian, just really a case of, or really a case rather, of wrong place, wrong time.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate for a lot of those guys that were just in the back taking their time. Matt Lacrosse and Nathan Little were racing hard for that position. There's nothing wrong with racing that hard this early on, but unfortunately it does take out a lot of really top contenders here on lap, 4 or 5 of this race, and it's unfortunate. Hopefully they can get the cars fixed, get back out there, and try to salvage the rest of the night.
Trying to salvage, that's what you've got to do in a points fight. And Evan Pasoko, I know we're not talking about him too soon in this race because he did not start right up towards the front of the field, but a guy who's done that well all season is in the 13th position, right where he started. The number 13, appropriately, the One Up Motorsports machine of Dwayne Vincent. He has salvaged all season long, and it's kept him the points lead because of how consistent he's been.
And we've talked about how he leads the points over a driver who has a win, over a driver who has 3 wins. Still yet to get the first. Is the only driver in the top 4 without a win. But you said it, he gets the job done on consistency. In 12 starts, that team has 7 top 5s and 8 top 10s. And after starting 13th, which may be a little bit further back than they wanted, hadn't gained or any lost any position on that last stint. He'll be on the inside of row 7 for the next restart, and evidently expecting to move forward throughout the evening.
Yeah, 10-car melee as we get the update. Going to be sparked by Matt Lacrosse, Nathan Little, and ultimately collect a bunch of good names, including Justin, a guy who was a sub-driver but picked up 2 wins in the Full Throttle Cup Series in 2014. The 42 tonight, Justin Wilson, in for Scott Stenzel, and unfortunately he was one of the guys that I think got the worst end of that deal.
He actually got the... I don't know how to describe this, guys. He got the way worse end of that deal. Basically going to need a whole new front clip put on that car. Heavy front end damage sustained to the number 42 as well, with some rear end damage with the 66 of Brian Harvey piling in. And I believe we're going back green here, gentlemen.
Getting ready indeed to go back green. The American Ethanol green flag flies, and it's going to show Thomas George out front again early over Mitch Rollo as we are now working lap number 8. So Rollo taking a peek, tucks right in behind now the number 1 of Thomas George, and he's looking down the back straightaway, seeing if he can get a run for the lead. Now he takes a look to the inside, battle for the lead in turn 3.
He'll get up to the door. We've seen the outside be able to be very defensive off the quarter on these restarts, but Rollo with all of the momentum. Gonna drag race it to the start-finish on. He's got support coming into the back end. The number 9 of Anthony DeBarro, his teammate, gonna follow him down on the bottom. It's 2 down low versus 1 up high. Now Benefield tries to go to the high side. We're side by side. 2 Rosie. Advantage to Thomas J. Georgie hangs on at a 2.
How about this battle down the back straightaway into turn number 3? Now it's a dogfight as you've got 3 Exclaim Graphics Boomtown Sim machines working the inside lane. You've got Adam Benefield, Thomas George working the outside lane. David Comstock's up there now. They're wheel-to-wheel for second in turn number 1, Brian. You've got now the 96 of Rollo under attack from Benefield, who's made a great run on the outside.
Yeah, these guys are going at it hard early. They're putting on a great show. This is awesome to watch. They're still side by side for second here. It looks like Adam Benefield is going to clear Mitch Rollo as they go through 3 and 4 here. Now he's going to set his sights on Thomas George as they come across the start-finish line.
How about that move for the rust bucket? Benefield, I talked to him earlier on today, and he was really excited about the piece that their crew had coming into the night. Great move to go to second, Evan. That's not something that you expect to see, a move around the outside paying off. He did it to perfection in that Ford Fusion.
Well, I guess we could say Brian told us, and I also said keep an eye on that 01 if he was going to be my quote-unquote dark horse pick, but that was a great move up high. Almost made it work on that first into the race when we saw him hold it on for third. Didn't quite work out, caution flag flew. He did it there. Question is, what's his speed, though, compared to Thomas J. George? When we saw them fighting for third earlier on, the top two were fighting. Right now, the 01 sliding back in comparison to the number 1 machine who sits atop the pile. It's a 4/10 of a second gap from Thomas J. George back to Benefield, who was immediately trailed only about 1.5 car lengths in between Benefield, DeBarro, Comstock, all of these drivers. Second all the way through, we'll call it P5, separated by less than half a second.
Working lap number 13 now, 12 of 150 in the books, and looking behind them, how about positions 3, 4, 6, and 9 right now? The Boomtown Sim Camp hanging in nicely inside the top 10. All 4 cars started there. All 4 cars run there right now. And for more from that 4-car camp, let's go back down to our Ford Performance Pit reporter in Justin Rosenau.
Yeah, the RCL Boomtown guys saying they really like their cars in the early going here, as they're all pretty much up inside the top 10. Christopher Hurlow running 9th is the lowest car in that group at this point in time. You got basically 3 cars grouped together in the 96 Roll, the 9 at DeBarro, and the 69 of Hemstreet. They have told me before the race these cars are long run cars, so they really want to take care of their tires, really play the tire management game, and then go chase them down after about 20 laps or so of green flag racing.
And we're seeing some green flag racing right now. The field opening up a little bit. And Thomas George, Brian, opening up about a half a second lead right now over Adam Benefield. You know, clean air, one of these things that we talk about, is a really big thing. And George started out front. He told us before the race that the front was going to be the safest place to be. He's proven it so far.
Yeah, well, not only is it the safest place to be, but it's the fastest place to be, because, like you said, with having that clean air, he doesn't have to worry about trying to cut through somebody else's air. He's able to just run his line and do whatever he wants. For Adam and for Mitch and Anthony and everybody behind him, they're having to try to go around or go through his air, and it's going to give them an aero push and make them tight on corner entry and really have to fight for it through the corner. So he's got the best air out there, and he's going to take advantage of it. However, Adam Benefield has been keeping paces in the last couple of laps. He's not losing any time, but he's not gaining any time right now.
No, not right now. He's just kind of holding pace, and I think we're going to see exactly what he's capable of here as the run goes on. Benefield a tick faster than Thomas George last time by, but I think right now what we're seeing, Evan, is everybody settling in, kind of feeling out this run, and maybe seeing if we can't go green flag for a little ways.
Yet I'm surprised to see Benefield pull it away from Rollo and DeBarro. We know Theo one's fast to be the outside work, but I felt like Rollo may be able to go back and immediately challenge him for it. That's not the case. Those RCO Boomtown machines sliding back just a little bit. Do have a fight on track for P12, and it's a hornet's nest down low. Dan Murray, the Wounded Warrior Project, on board his Toyota Camry. Up high, the car that everybody's trying to freight train. That's the 41 at Nathan Little.
Yeah, Nathan Little was involved slightly in that first crash, and he's going to work with Dan Murray right now. Again, another patriotic scheme. Evan mentioned it, the Wounded Warrior Project on board that number 5 tonight. And back there a little bit further, the 94, last week's winner in the Kellogg's for Eric Brundys, and Dwayne Vincent, the championship leader in the One-Up Motorsports number 13 right now. All of them going at it back from 12th through about 15th.
And you see that 41 up on the outside main, Nathan Little. He was under attack. It looked like that the 94 of Eric Brundys was going to run over Dan Murray. He got to the back bumper of that Toyota so quickly, checked it up. Well, now the 94 is going backwards on the inside lines. And the 41, who looked like he was going to be the big loser in all of this, he maintains what's going to be P13. And now Dwayne Vincent Jacob, who was slid in back one spot for the restart, trying to get around the 94 up high. Now the outside, the slow lane, back and forth almost every other lap. And that number 23 of Greg Evans bringing the folds of honor, Chevy down to the bottom.
As we continue to watch this battle up front with 20 laps going in the books, it is still Thomas George with a 4-car length lead over Adam Benefield. Mitch Rollo, Anthony DeBarro, and David Comstock round out the top 5 here in the early stages of the World 225. We are going to go RSR side by side here from the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and continue to watch some of the action on track from NASCAR's home track. Stay with us. We're back with more in just a moment. Thomas George, your leader.
The outside contact made. 56 slides it at a 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Dead even. Give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
Cars are lined up on the grid. The RSR World Championship Grand Prix Series. We are underway. They all come down into turn 1 for the first time.
Monza is a very historic track. It's been around since the 20s, and it's gone through several permutations since then. We're also bringing forward a number of configurations. So there's chicanes that they've installed since the track's early days. So they can use original, very high-speed configurations of the track where the cars would just blow through where the chicanes are today, or they could use a more modern version. So it's a pretty cool, compelling track. The unique thing about Monza is it has a road course, but it also has a high-speed oval, and that high-speed oval can be run by itself. The Grand Prix course can be run by itself, and they also can be run together in a combined circuit, which is very unique and special in motorsports. This was one of the more challenging projects that we've undertaken. It was essentially building 2 tracks in one. It took a lot of time and a lot of care was put into it, but we're really happy about the end result and we think that people have a lot of fun driving it.
Welcome back to LSRTV from the Charlotte Motor Speedway, round 2 of the Real Deal Graphics Challenge. The World 225 at Charlotte Motor Speedway nearly had a nervous moment as we welcome you into the LSRTV booth. Jacob Seelman, Evan Pasoko, Brian Macklin up here, and Evan taking a look at a replay now. Near disaster for Chad Coleman on lap 26, and somehow that machine manages to save it, and we stayed green.
Yeah, that thing was about 45 degrees sideways in the corner at speed, saved it, got back up on track, and is still positive from where he started this race. He runs 21st, he started 29th.
Yeah, he's charged his way through the field. Another guy who's charged his way through the field, Brian Macklin, is the 2 of Rhett McBride. Had to start 42nd on a provisional. He has marched his way towards the front of the field, rides 19th, just ahead of Coleman.
Yeah, that is really impressive to be able to go through that many cars in this short period of time. He's got a fast race car. He's still running competitive lap times compared to the leader. If he gets some caution to get caught up and can get some track position, he might be a threat to get up there inside the top 5 tonight.
He may yet be a threat. And for more on the 2, Justin Rosenau, I believe you just made a trip down there to the number 2's pit. What have we got on the GT number 2 machine of Rhett McBride?
Yeah, just got done off the pit box with the crew chief in the number 2 GT Omega Chevrolet of Rhett McBride. Claims that he has a car that is, quote, on rails. Wants no adjustments to that race car. Wants the same pressures in all 4 of them tires. He wants a good, clean stop, and he thinks he can actually go to the front and win the thing tonight.
Rhett McBride won a couple of them last season, and I like to hear that confidence because, Evan, he's another guy like Thomas George who's had a dismal start to the year, just hasn't had anything going right, and finally it looks like this evening they may have hit on something that's working for him.
And it's a lot of the time, you'll go into races, a lot of drivers, they'll try to change, their race day prep, or they'll try to change something, hoping that it can kind of knock them out of that little bit of a slump that they're in. We go on board with it. Number 9 right now of Anthony DeBarro, who runs in 4th, but realistically, a lot of the time, just falls in your direction. You keep doing what you're doing. Eventually, you'll get the results that you earn and that you deserve, and I think that's what we're seeing right now for that Thomas J. George machine. I don't even think if you asked them trade 1 win for however many weeks we've seen them have such rough luck, they'd even take that, but right now, make it up for it. That Snap-on machine still up front, and that lead is growing, now up to 1.3 seconds.
It's growing, and Brian, it's growing very steadily. Thomas has just been really methodical, really consistent here in the early stages of the going, but I think he may have a challenge coming shortly because we're working on having a change for second. The fastest guy on track over the last few laps has been that patriotic white and black number 14 Monster Energy Chevrolet of David Comstock, and he about had second from Adam Benefield last time by.
Yeah, this battle's been going on for about 15 laps now. Everybody back there, Comstock, DeBarro, and Mitch Rolo, they've been trying to get around Adam Benefield. He's been slower than these guys, but like I said at the beginning of the race, now that the tires have wore off, you can hold position being on the outside line. These guys get underneath of him and they get the run, and they're faster than him, but he's able to hold them off and pinch them down, and he gets thrown off the corner and they have to lift. So it's been very, very difficult for these guys to get by him. We've got a battle for second now. David Comstock's going to sling it down in there into turn 1. He slides up. We have a little bit of contact. Are we going to go 3 wide off 2? Anthony Ibarra looks at it. He changes his mind.
We had a little bit of contact anyways, Brian, because that 9 of Anthony DeBarro came in there and just gave a tap the left rear of the 14 of Comstock, and I thought Comstock was going to get swirly. Now he's taking a run to the outside, down through the quad oval. Comstock rolling the momentum and takes second away in turn 1.
I feel like that was a smart move by Benefield. It looks like that 01 let him go. Checked up the 14 with a power move on the outside, ducked down in line, and he's able to get that spot. Now you got to see what Mitch Rolo could do. The 96 and 9 still teammates, running 4th and 5th. Still together. Only bad news for them is they've stayed side by side really throughout it on the scoring pylon, but they've only been sliding backwards. They may try to get a shot at that 01 machine also.
Comstock was passing Benefield last time around. He was still a quarter-tenth quicker than Thomas George. I'm ready to see what that 14 can do with a little bit of clean air on the nose of that Monster Energy Chevrolet. We'll see what he can do. He's been the fastest car on the racetrack the last couple of times around, and now his task is to cut down a 1.7-second lead to Thomas George, who leads the party. And a little bit further back in the field, we've still got some pretty intense racing going on around the 16th position, where CJ LeVere is up 11 after starting 27, and he's under attack from the 84 of Jimmy North. Those guys battling through the corner, and LeVere trying to hold off a determined charge. Jimmy North in the KB Designs machine taking a peek to the inside.
It's very difficult to make that run to the inside, especially coming off the corner. And you see, he tries to trick the number 4 there. Didn't have the position, stepped out of line, put the nose to the inside. Almost wanted to make CJ think he was there, give him that lane. Didn't quite work. CJ continues to lead there. LeVere, again, you said, 27th to 16th. Jimmy North in his own right up 3 spots. They're kind of fighting all by themselves. They're 2.5 seconds at the good behind him. Nobody for a second in front of them. But that 84 is not letting the 4 get this one very easily.
No, he's not, and that's a great battle right now. And a good run early for Jimmy North as we watch the 4 and the 84 continue to scrap for position, about 9.5 seconds behind the race leader. And Brian, Thomas George setting a blistering pace right now. We're only 23 minutes into this race, and we've already got about a third of this race through the books. 45 laps we're working right now, so very, very quickly we are going to be at the 1/3 portion of this race, and it's starting to fly by just a little bit.
Yeah, Thomas George has set a blistering pace, like you said. We have a nice little battle for the RCO Boomtown guys back here in 4th and 5th. The 9 and the 96, Anthony DeBarro and Mitch Roller, they're battling pretty hard. Yeah, Thomas has been on a roll tonight. He's finally seeming to get the luck that he's been looking for the last few weeks. If he continues to do what he's doing right here tonight, he's going to have a hard time losing this one. The only person right now that looks like that they can keep up with him is David Comstock. He's been a little bit quicker than him since he got clear of Adam Benefield a few laps ago. It's a big gap to try to make up. He's probably going to need a caution to get caught up and have a shot at him now.
I'll throw another name at you that I think may have a shot at this later in the race, and he's moved to the 6th position right behind the RCO Boomtown duo of DeBarro and Rollo. That's the champ, Chad Cole. Won it in 2013. He's very good at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and Evan, he wants a win this season very, very badly. He has waited, he's worked, and he looks like he's got a really good piece under him tonight in that DeWalt Chevy SS. So Cole, that 8 car, he could well be a sleeper later on in this race tonight.
And you don't become a champion without knowing how to conserve your race car through a run. We're getting a good green flag stretch right here, and through it, he's catching the 9 and the 96 right in front of him. Looked like he was going to be able to almost get them in one swing of the back because they were fighting. That really allowed him to close the gap in from what was about half a second, a right on the bumper. Now down to the bottom he goes in quarter 3. Side-by-side fight with Mitch Rollo in 3 and 4, and still powering off that bottom lane. He wants to go for the 9 as well, but Chad Cole doing a good job at preserving those tires right now. Looks pretty strong, especially down low.
He does look strong, and as he continues to look strong, so too does the one of Thomas George, who has a little bit slimmer lead than what he has had in the last stages of this race, as it's down to 1.5 seconds as we go back to the battle for 5th. Through the corner, Chad Cole working on the inside on the 96 of Mitch Rollo.
Is still fighting there, and again, we talked about how the outside can fight back. I think right there, Mitch Rollo's just going to let him go. Backed off the throttle a little bit on the straightaway, let him get the position, something that we saw earlier with David Comstock. Give the 8 the spot, and now the 8 machine coming up very quickly. We got trouble for our race leader, Thomas J. George, at number 1.
And this, you know what? This is a cycle, a beginning of green flag pit stops, I believe. Your leader is in. Lead change to David Comstock here at lap number 50. And Justin Rosenau, it's down to you. The leader's in.
Leaders on pit road. Trouble for the number 9 at Navarro. Gets past the commitment cone. Loses it in the grass. Gets it saved, but he's going to lose himself a lot of position on the racetrack. That's going to allow several drivers to make gains on this round of green flag pit stops. Several drivers hitting pit road. Your leader, Thomas George, into his pit box. Right sides up on that. Actually, he's already down and away. Solid stop for that number 1 crew. There was a big stack up there with the DeBarro machine getting loose on pit road. The 01 of Adam Benefield and the 8 of Chad Cole both hit pit road now. These guys cycled around to the lead at the start of the green flag pit stops here. Everybody needs to come to pit road, guys, in about 5 laps of the first guy coming down to take tires. Tires, such a huge part of the equation here at Charlotte.
They are a huge part of the equation, and Brian, you know that. You've driven a lot of laps around this racetrack. How important is it to be one of those early guys to the point?
Well, we saw that the lap times were falling off about a half of a second from their fastest lap to where they were at there at the end of the run. So you want to try to be on pit road as quickly as possible. You don't want to waste any time, because once the leader, especially since Thomas George was the first guy on pit road, once he's on pit road, he's got the fresh tires, he's going to start pulling away even more than he already was. I'm really surprised we didn't see David Comstock try to get on pit road a lap or two sooner than him. Maybe Comstock was trying to stretch it a little bit, but once he saw Thomas come to pit road, he had no choice. He had to get on pit road as soon as possible.
And he did. It kind of forces everybody's hands, Evan. And I want to bring to you on this for a minute too, because I think what we're going to see is when the first guy makes that jump to pit road, that forces the rest of the field's hand. I think that may have been what you were trying to get at just a little bit there, but that's the trigger. And once everybody starts pitting, you just got to go.
Right, and you'll see later on in these races, you call it a short pit. In reality, this is the leader just getting a set of green flag pit stops picked off, and maybe it even is a quote-unquote short pit. Thomas J. George trying to catch everybody off, coming down a little bit early, because typically you'll see a couple of guys trickle down, but it always, once our leader hits it, everybody comes down, because you don't want the fastest car on track to be out there on 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles, and you're still running around with worn tires and losing time overall. He forced everybody else to come down the pit lane, and now we're seeing the lead get tossed around a couple of positions. How about Steve Gottschalk, the Nerf number 91 Chevy, on top of the board right now? Give that man some bonus points, and that machine as well, working with a little bit of damage from some early race contact, but right now up front as they have yet to come down pit road. To put it in perspective, Thomas J. George is 9th, top 8 need to pit.
How about with the way this may cycle out right now for the leaders? You had Thomas George and David Comstock, the top 2 coming into the pit lane, and the difference right now, Comstock, Evan, gaining almost 3/4 of a second versus George during their time on pit road. The gap was about 1.9 when they came down. It's now less than a second and a half.
Well, I'll tell you, we just had a moment. Rich Jett tried to come down pit road, and he got himself stuck on the seam between the racetrack.
Oh,
and
trouble down the
apron.
front straightaway as Steve Gottschalk was coming into pit lane. Eric Brundy's nearly got into the back of him, got up into the fence, and spun down the quad oval. Caution flag flies for the second time tonight at lap 56. Chaos for last week's race winner and the defending champion. Eric Brundy's socks the fence and goes around.
Officially, they didn't make contact, but they did. The sim recognized it as they did, because as soon as he swerved to the left, the shower of sparks, the left front got damaged. May have been able to pull the deke on him, but he got sideways spun, and the 94 machine at a quarter for lap 55 plants it in the outside wall. Heavy damage to that machine. He's up against the outside retaining wall. Caution flag flies. A couple of drivers have to use the front straightaway lawn to get through that one and avoid it.
Brian, that was one of those unfortunate moments where Gottschalk was trying to check up to come to pit road, and Brundy's just had so much momentum that when he was coming, there was nowhere for him to really go except up, and when he ran out of room, into the safer barrier he went.
Yeah, that was also a miscommunication between spotters. Somebody didn't do their job right there and let them know that the car was coming to pit road. Eric Brundy's obviously wasn't aware that was happening, and by the time he realized what was going on, it was too late and he had nowhere to go, like you said. A very unfortunate thing. We do have some pit stops here. Dwayne Vincent, it was a couple of those guys that had not made their green flag pit stops, now taking advantage of pitting now under caution.
So under caution, some more action on the pit lane, and while that turns the lead back over to Thomas George, we're going to throw it down to our Ford Performance pit reporter, Justin Rosenau. Drivers in front of you.
Yeah, drivers coming in front of me. Dwayne Vincent from the One Up Motorsports camp. 4 tires on that machine, a couple of chassis adjustments to help that car in traffic as well. The 69, the RCL Boomtown entry of Corbin Hemstreet as well, coming down to take the opportunity to get fresher tires, as well as, surprise, surprise, the 14 of David Comstock elects to come down and put 4 fresh Goodyear tires on that machine as well. He wants every advantage over the number 1 of Thomas George, and by all accounts, gentlemen, he has the faster long-run car over Thomas George.
We're going to take this opportunity to go side by side and go to break. So when we come back, We'll be with you for the restart from Charlotte Motor Speedway. Thomas George going to be back out in front of the World 225 from Charlotte Motor Speedway. Welcome back to LSRTV from the Charlotte Motor Speedway, round 2 of the Real Deal Graphics Challenge for the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series underway here tonight from Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's the World 225. Jacob Seelman alongside Evan Pasoko and Brian Macklin here in the broadcast booth, and Justin Rosenau for us down on the pit lane as we're working under caution, getting set to go back green at lap number 62. We will wrap up after our first extended green flag run of the event when Eric Brundys got into the wall trying to avoid the slowing car of Steve Gottschalk on the front straightaway. And now, Evan, for this restart, you've got one of the hottest new talents in RSR ready to roll from the outside of the front row. Look at Anthony DeBarro right up here in position number 2.
Even he thought he should have gotten that first RSR checkered flag in the Outlaw Truck Series a couple of weeks ago. I'm sure that team would not object, Jacob, if their first one comes on the top tier level.
And we continue to watch Mitch Rollo, another guy who wants redemption at Charlotte, running third. Jeff Ward, the hottest guy in Real Sim Racing, up in fourth in the Yeti Coolers Chevrolet SS. Chad Cole up in the top 5. Christopher Furlow's up there. It's a whole new ball game in the top 10 right now. David Comstock pitted and restarts 13th with Adam Benefiel in 14th. We'll see how it all shakes out as the iRacing Ford First Mustang pace car hits pit lane. We're back under green here at lap number 62, and this American Ethanol green flag restart presented by American Ethanol. If it's good enough for NASCAR, it's good enough for your car. American Ethanol, fueled by corn. George away to the lead in turns 1 and 2. RCO Boomtown slots in 2 and 3. First side-by-side battle back around 6th place. Christopher Hurlow and Greg Evans going at it.
Greg Evans doing a great job tonight moving forward. Started 21st and has been picking off a handful of cars every single time. Now on the third green flag stint, he wants to crack the top 7 or so. He's 7th right now. Chad Cole actually sliding to 6th from the start-finish line, so it is going to be a battle for P6. 23 with the nose there. That's another one of our machines with the patriotic design, folds of honor on the hood of that Chevy.
And it's a very, very pretty car for the Folds of Honor. Number 23 machine. Greg Evans, a former winner earlier this season, Evan, and he'd like to get number 2 on the year. David Comstock's the only multiple winner, so, you know, Evans up there putting himself in a good position, and he's part of that very potent steel horse racing machine, or camp, that right now, when you look at it, they have 3 of the top 6 spots, 1st, 4th, and 6th, so... No, they're doing good. Boomtown Sims got 3 in the top 7. The only outlier is some guy named Chad Cole. It's not like we've ever talked about him in RSR.
Absolutely not. No, that team is doing a great job. They've doubled up where they started. So again, this really is a story of people moving forward. A different story, though, for a David Comstock, a Bobby Terrell, even an Adam Benefield. Drivers that started inside the top 10 are outside of the top 10 because they did not pit until that caution flag came out. They got stuck a little bit further back in the back. Those guys that started in single digits, running are guys like, I'm going to call out Doug Roth, Jacob, that 43 SDP Petty Blue Ford started 37th. They're 9th. Right behind him, Rich Jet started 34th. He's 10th. These drivers are the ones that are trying to hold off the guys that started top 5. Not an easy task to do, and you see Adam Benefield picking up 4 spots in the last 2 laps to get to 9th.
Yeah, Benefield's coming forward once again in that 0-1 Rust Bucket. Ada Sign Wraps Ford Fusion. He's on the move. Corbin Hemstreet's going to potentially be his next victim, but I continue to watch these RCO Boomtown guys up in 2nd and 3rd. Anthony DeBarro and Mitch Rollo in those 2 exclaimed graphics. Green and white entries, the 9 and the 96. They are not letting Thomas George get away this time. You see Eric Grundy's pretty heavy damage to that number 94 machine. He is going to fall to the leaders as they work to the inside. The defending champ is going to go down another lap. He's going to be 4 down now in 38.
He'll join the likes of a couple of other guys out here. Kevin Linden, that car is torn up, the 48 machine. Matt Lacrosse, Brian Harvey, we talked about. Harvey out of this race as well. Jacob Justin Wilson was involved in that first incident. Finally back at RSR competition after a little while in that number 42 this week, and unfortunate to see that team's run end extremely sore in this race. Definitely not the result that they wanted.
Battle for the lead. Here we go. Anthony DeBarro looking to the inside of the 1 of Thomas George. Could we get our first race condition lead change of the night? Off turn 4. Survey says yes, we will. DeBarro takes the lead at the stripe by 34 1/1000ths of a second. Here at lap 68, they're still wheel to wheel, and now DeBarro gonna squeeze by and I believe clear him off turn 2. George to the inside on the crossover.
That one tried to plant that nose at the right rear, get the side draft, didn't work, backed off, crossed them over at a 2, and now we go side by side, 2 rows deep, both RCO Boomtown Chevys up on the high side. DeBarro fighting with Thomas J. George, and how about that 89 of Jeff Ward, the hardest driving driver in RSR these last few weeks, side by side, wait behind him with DeBarro's teammate. That's Mitch Rollo as well in the fight, but we are still neck and neck for the top spot. Outside the advantage down the back straightaway, not going to be enough to get clear though. 1 car back to the bottom in 3.
How about this battle for the lead? RCO Boomtown on the outside, Steel Horse Racing on the inside, wheel to wheel. Here at lap number 70, we're not even halfway, and we are going at it now. Boomtown with the advantage to the stripe. DeBarro gonna get clear and cycle through to the lead once again at lap number 70. An update a little further back in the pack. Nathan Littles just dropped out of the sim in the 41. He was on, check that, he was about 2 laps down, and he's going to fall back a little further. Now the leader's getting into a little bit of traffic with Matt Lacrosse, the 21, and a little bit of contact between George and DeBarro.
And that's when single file, so they are thankful that they got things sorted out before they found that lap traffic. I don't expect that number 1 machine, though, to roll over and give this one up, besides the fact that Anthony DeBarro went to the top spot. But, you know, you're looking at a veteran right now in 2nd, and it's the rookie putting the moves on him up front.
He is putting the moves on up front, and he looks like a guy who can race for his first career Full Throttle Cup Series win. For more on the 9, Justin Rosenau, you're down there in his pit. They've got to be ecstatic right now.
Yes, indeed. That was my pick for the win here tonight. Anthony DeBarro in the 9, exclaimed Graphic Chevrolet out of the RCO Boomtown camp. He is saying he loves his race car, under a lot of pressure from the veteran Thomas George, does everything he can to hold him off, and you're going to see that high side, he says, going to be a big time factor here in holding somebody off, especially trying to make a charge. It does so, defends the lead, and I tell you what, that number 9 looking to put an exclamation mark and try to put these guys in victory lane tonight.
He'd love to do it. And Brian, I'm curious, what are you seeing right now out of this battle? It's a fantastic battle up at the front. I usually look for veteran experience at Charlotte, but DeBarro doing a brilliant job.
Yeah, he has done an absolutely incredible job. The way he's been racing tonight, you wouldn't think that he's a rookie. He's done an amazing job up here, battling against Thomas George and Jeff Ward and his teammate up there. I mean, he's just done an incredible job, and he's not letting the pressure get to him. A lot of times when you have a rookie driver and they're in this situation, they start making mistakes because they are being pressured by these guys that they know are always at the front battling for wins. And he has done an incredible job. And if he continues doing this, he's going to be in a really good position to try to win this race later on. It's going to be an exciting battle. You think they're battling hard now? They still have half a race to go. We're at the halfway point now. When they get down to 5 to go, this is going to get crazy. I can't wait.
It's exciting right now, Evan, and you know, we're closing in almost to halfway. What have you liked so far about the first half of this one?
I've liked the comers and goers, and it depends on, again, how the cautions have flown, but Thomas J. George had this, the 9 took it. You got Adam Benefield, who's up 8 spots since the restart. Jeff Ward starting to creep into the picture. Greg Evans up 16 positions, and we're only halfway through. Can't really tell you right now any sort of educated guess on what that top 5 is going to look like in 75 more.
Oh, it is going to be a whole lot of fun right now. George riding in the second position. We've just crossed halfway, working lap number 77. So let's take a look down our Ford Performance leaderboard here as we're just past the halfway point of the World 225. Anthony DeBarro, your race leader, ahead of Thomas George, who rides second. Mitch Rollo up in third. Jeff Ward and Greg Evans round out the top 5. Adam Benefield is 6th, and then it's another rookie, Christopher Hurlow, in 7th. Chad Cole is 8th. Corbin Himstreet rides in the 9th position, and David Comstock rounds out your top 10.
Scored 11th right now, but going to be falling back 1 spot is Doug Roth. Rich Jett fighting him for that position in 12th. He got 13th, the 13 to Dwayne Vincent, right where he started. That car struggling to move forward in this event. Behind him, Bobby Terrell sliding back a little bit from the start as well in 14th. 15th position, you got Dan Murray. 16th, Nicholas Cohan. Been a silent night so far for the 53 team. Sean Casto is 17th. 18th to Jose Gonzalez. 19th to Stefan Marinak. And Jonathan Cadell rounding out your top 20.
And we just had a change for position. CJ Levere was in 21st. He moves up to 20th. Now in 21st is Chad Coleman. Pedro Majeca is in the number 50 car. He's in 22nd. John Abbott is in 23rd. Started 36th, so he's up 13 positions from where he started. Starting in the 42nd position was Rhett McBride. We talked about him earlier. He's moved up to the 24th position so far, not getting as far up the field as we thought he was going to, but he's still got some time to work on it. Brandon Peterson is in the 25th position. And check that, Paul Nicholas Cooper just made a pass on him for the 25th position, so knocked Peterson back to 26th. 27th is Nick Silver. Jimmy North is 28th. 29th is David Lanza, and rounding out the top 30 is Brendan Mercer in the 30th position.
31st, last car on the lead lap is Scott Simley. J.R. Johnson, 32nd. Harrison Whittle,'s 33rd. 34th, and now 2 laps down because he just fell out of a sim, Nick Cohan, 35th. Mark Bratcher, 36th. 6 laps down, Kevin Linden. Nathan Little, 9 down in 37th. Most of the rest of these cars are out of the race or have heavy damage. Eric Grundy's 38th. Steve Gottschalk, David Kamara, 40th. Matt Lacrosse, Brian Harvey, Justin Wilson. Harvey and Wilson caught up in that early crash just a few laps into this one. That's a look at your Ford full field rundown with now 81 laps complete. Ford, go further. And now that we're past halfway, we are going to go RSR nonstop. And as we go to commercial, we're going to pay tribute to a special cause that LSRTV is supporting, the Captain Herb Emery Benefit Ride. So you take a look at this business that we're going to do, and we'll be back with more from Charlotte Motor Speedway after this. Anthony DeBarro, your race leader. welcome back to LSRTV. We're continuing at the Charlotte Motor Speedway as we roll through the second half now of the World 225 for the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series. It's round 11 tonight of the 2015 season. 9 different winners in the first 10 races. Jacob Seelman, Evan Pasoko, Brian Macklin in the broadcast booth, and Justin Rosa now down on pit road. And Evan, one of the causes we're supporting here, we come down to Memorial Day, and actually coming up Saturday, May 30th on LSRTV, the double clutch Herb Emery Memorial Race on LSRTV, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, presented by Double Clutch. And I know it's a big event here on LSRTV, and we've got a lot of information to share with our viewers here.
We're glad to be a part of it. Basically, it's a race that is supporting the second annual Herb Emery Memorial Ride that goes on the same date. So what we're going to be doing, and this is open invitation to anybody that wants to compete, because this is benefiting Toys for Tots. You make a $10 donation to the cause in the name of Herb Emery. $10 donation fee, you get into the event. Double Clutch obviously sponsoring the event. We have a lot of great prizes to give away. It's a great cause, so if you're not going to be able to compete, make sure you tune in. But if you're on iRacing, you know you're fast at Atlanta and are down for 300 miles, we hope to see you next Saturday, 1 o'clock Eastern, 1:30 Eastern on LSRTV.
Yeah, oh, by the way, there's a purse for the top 3 finishers, $100 to win, $75, $50 for second and third. Some other prizes randomly out for the rest of the field. Join WSB at Fred's Barbecue House if you're in the area for a day of fun, a great cause. That's, again, the Herb Emery Toys for Tots benefit ride. And for more information, continue to keep up with us. LSRTV or Live Sim Racing TV on Facebook, or at livesimracing.com for more information. Meanwhile, up at the front of the field, as we work now, we're working lap number 88, getting ready to go in the books, and we've got a battle 4 cars strong for the top spot, and the guy that's on the move, the Yeti Coolers, number 89 machine of Jeff Ward, side by side with the 96 of Mitch Rollo. That's a battle for third as they touch, and Rollo slides and saves it.
Well, I was about to say they were almost in each other's side, Jacob, because they got real close coming through the second kink in a dog leg. That time, contact. Mitch Rollo's number 96, sideways in the corner, hangs on. Make that 2 of them tonight so far. You're taking a look on LSRTV side by side on the replay. The good news is he's not in the fence. The bad news, no longer within 2/10 of our race leader. Left side damage, P4 and about 2 seconds back, but what a save. Meanwhile, that car on the charge continues. That 89 Yeti Coolers of Jeff Ward started 6th, continuing to pick away at the top 2. The top 4, Jacob, there, that was looking like super speedway intervals with all of them within 2/10 of a second of each other. The 89 machine not about to give up, and Thomas J. George is not letting that 9 machine get away from him. They've been about a car length separated since they swapped for the top spot.
Yeah, how about this? I mean, Mitch Rollo made the save of the race, in my opinion, right there. Brian, he was dirt tracking it through turns 1 and 2 and somehow hung on to it.
That takes an incredible amount of talent to be able to hang onto the car at that speed. He was doing about 165 to 170 miles an hour right there and managed to not wreck that car. That was incredible. We have a battle for the lead here. Thomas George, he's gotten to the inside of Anthony DeBarro as they go off into turn 1. Is he going to be able to make it work? It doesn't look like it yet. He drives it off in there. Anthony DeBarro is going to be able to get the run on the outside. Or are they going to touch?
Oh, he got the DeBarro in the wall down the back straightaway. They were racing hard, and Steelhorse to the top 2. Jeff Ward slides on through to the inside for second. Lap 92, and it's gone from great to yikes for Boomtown Sim. George used him up and made it work. Takes the lead back.
Yeah, that one went down low, and he got tight coming off the corner as these tires start to wear, and in DeBarro's own respect, that 9 was kind of trying to pinch him down. They made contact. The 9 went up the hill, just brushed the outside wall, but just like his teammate, now fall out of that direct battle for the top spot. Still within half a second of each other, but now, all of a sudden, the door wide open. Jeff Ward is straight flying, and now he's on the back deck lid of George.
Yeah, and those two are teammates, but they fight as hard as anybody in the field. Justin, the 89's got to be happy with their car. In the other vein, the 9 of DeBarro, they've got to be incensed over the radio right now.
It's all quiet as far as the open communications go. Trying to get a little bit of word from the crew chief as to how he actually does feel in the car, but as a driver's experience, I got to imagine Anthony has got to be saying some very colorful words behind the wheel of that number 9 Exclaim Graphics Chevrolet.
Yeah, wow. Brian, I don't know what you say about that. You know, it's one of those situations where these two, George and Navarro, they've been battling so hard for the lead in this race, and all it takes is the tiniest of mistakes, and you can give it all away.
Yeah, it's a very frustrating deal, especially for Anthony because he's got a lot of right side damage. But he was battling hard for the lead, and he wasn't giving Thomas a lot of room. So, as bad as he's got to be, and as a driver, I can tell you that he's furious right now. And like Justin said, he's saying a lot of colorful things to himself. He can't be too mad at Thomas George, though, because they were racing hard for the lead. He wasn't giving Thomas a lot of room. And unfortunately, those kinds of things happen when you're racing that close at these speeds.
That's exactly what happens, and you know, it's one of those things where he's a rookie, he's going to learn, but he's also racing really hard because he wants it. And now we see a battle for the lead. To the inside of the 1 of George comes the 89 of Jeff Ward just as the caution flag flies.
I don't know if they'll give it to him, but caution flag is out, and we slowed them down. Trouble with the number 27 machine. Paul Nicholas Cooper was running in 22nd spot and got into it down in quarter number 3. The caution flag back out. Jacob, I don't know if Ward or George are going to be on the top spot after this because that was cutting it close with the caution light. Looks like Jeff Ward will go to the top spot.
Indeed, he will. At lap number 97, Jeff Ward gets by and is credited with the lead of this race. So the hottest driver, Real Sim Racing to the point, and Justin Rosenau, that's a crew that's just been getting better and better and better all night.
You know, you got to really give credit to the guy behind the wheel, that number 89, excuse me, Yeti Coolers Chevrolet, drives the number 9 in the other series here you see here on LSRTV. Jeff Ward, a strong driver nonetheless, kind of been making his own luck, basically, if you will, printing his own victory stamp. You know, he's putting himself in the right position at all times, and now he's coming down pit road. My money says, because these guys have been out here for a while, it's going to be 4 tires and prayers that they have enough fuel to get the rest of the way done. A couple guys did make pit stops there just as the caution flag flew out. The 96 of Rollo, who had that incredible save there but flat spotted his tires, was on pit road. I believe he's going to be trapped a lap down. I'm going to be on the tail end of the lead lap as the things cycle out, along with the number 8 of Chad Cole.
Under caution, and right now we're going to go RSR non-stop as we get set to finish pit stops, and it looks like the 89 of Jeff Ward going to win the race off pit road, so stay tuned. We're back with more on LSR TV in a moment. Right now, again, going RSR non-stop, Jeff Ward, your leader. Welcome back to LSRTV. Getting ready for a restart at lap 101. Oh man, it's gotten crazy at the front of the field. Jeff Ward, your leader. Thomas George second. DeBarro, Benefiel, Comstock, and Himstreet. The rest of the front three, Rose and Evan. Save of the race has to go to the 96 of Mitch Rollo. He got pinned a lap down right there because he pitted a lap before the caution came out. But what a move through turns 1 and 2 to somehow dirt track it and save that car.
And that's not the first time tonight we've seen cars sideways, and we're only 2/3 of the way through. 49 to go at the stripe. I have a feeling it's only going to get turned up more.
Here we go as the pace car heads for pit road, and this American Ethanol green flag restart is back in the air, and it's all Jeff Ward down to turn number 1. First battle for position is for third. Anthony DeBarro to the inside, now looking for second on Thomas George. They almost touch, and DeBarro, I think, wants to return the favor down the back straightaway, Boomtown to the inside.
They gotta watch themselves there. That 9 got awfully close contact now with Adam Benefiel. The 01 looked like he was trying to trail the 1 in front of him. Contact, and now more contact. Again, the 9 into Adam Benefiel. Hard into the outside wall is the 01 Ford.
Oh, this is the second time tonight we've seen chaos like this, Brian. They're using everybody up, and now the caution flag flies.
Oh, 4 cars. CJ LeVere, hard hit.
Oh,
Hurlo
wow.
as well.
How did Chad Cole go to the bottom and get through that?
I think he used the grass.
One of the Boomtown cars got heavy damage in that one. Is that the 69 of Himstreet?
Yeah, it started with Hurlo there, Jacob. They went to the bottom because, again, Benefiel was plastered up against the fence, and the 87 actually got sideways. You'll take a look at the replay right now as the 4 was on his bumper, and it hooked Hurlo at a 45-degree angle straight into a concrete wall. A huge hit for the 87. LeVere picks up damage in that one. Brandon Peterson may have gotten a piece of it as well. And a chain reaction when you run out of room, and it's amplified, Jacob, at a track like this where it's that quad oval versus just a progressive left-hander. Those dog legs can catch you in those close quarter situations like we just saw.
Oh, Mitch Rollo, 96 Evan in it as well. Heavy smoke from underneath that 96 car. That's a hugely tough break. That was one of my sleeper picks. I thought maybe could win this race, and now he's down to his pit stall, and that's just heartbreaking right there, especially for the guy who had heartbreak here at this same racetrack last fall.
Yeah, 96 of Rollo, not very happy and got a lot of damage on that Exclaim Graphics Chevrolet. Want to take the opportunity here to update a teammate, the lone teammate up front at the front of the pack. The number 9 of Anthony DeBarro says that his crew just slapped some bare bond on the right front, got the aero all straightened out, made sure that all the parts and pieces and bits were in good shape. He says he is good to go, car drives fine. Look for him to really continue the charge that he made here, just like he did on that last restart.
So under caution here, inside of 50 to go, working lap 105, and we know at the very least the 96 of Mitch Rollo, the 87 was in it, the 4 of CJ LeVere was in it. Evan, just, yeesh. What can you do sometimes?
Well,
I think Sean Casto too.
Yeah, we're starting to see a lot of contact up front, and it hasn't really been, a situation where somebody dive bombs somebody and takes them out, or somebody just shunts somebody from the back end. But it's at a point, and I'll go back to what you guys were talking about there after that last caution. When you're running at the speeds these guys are, and you're expecting to just lead on each other and leave maybe half a foot, a couple of inches in between each other in the sim, that's not normally going to end up well, and that's what we're seeing. But in all of that, Jeff Ward has capitalized. He goes to the top spot. Thomas J. George is still there. Anthony DeBarro is still there. The question is, though, that 9 with that right side damage, can they be as fast as they were before?
Yeah, that's what we're keeping an eye on, and we will as we get set for the restart. But before we do that, want to give a little bit more information and an LSRTV promo on the Herb Emery Memorial. And we welcome you back inside the TV tower as we continue the World 225. Just wrapping up, I believe, caution number 4 of the race for about 16 or 17 laps here of the 107 that we have run and will complete at the start-finish line. So we're going to have about 43 laps to go on this American Ethanol Green Flag restart. Jeff Ward and the Yeti Cooler Chevrolet going to be your race leader alongside his teammate Thomas J. George. This Service Master Clean caution done. American Ethanol Green Flag back on the racetrack. Ward gets away. The battle's going to be for second between the two guys that have gotten into it a couple of times. Anthony DeBarro, Thomas George. DeBarro gave him a shot in turn 1, but that's going to allow David Comstock, the Monster Energy Chevrolet, to the inside.
I don't think he wanted to give the one the boost, but here comes Thomas J. George for the top spot. So as the 9 comes under attack by that number 14 Monster Energy machine of David Comstock, Thomas J. George to the top spot over Jeff Ward. The 89 Yeti Cooler Chevy going to drop him behind him and get that draft going. The 9 gets the move on the outside, hangs on to 3rd. But right there you're showing that Anthony DeBarro let the 1 machine know that he did not appreciate that earlier contact.
No, he didn't. And Brian, that could come back to haunt him later in the race. You know, once is okay. Twice, you know, I'm there and I'm watching. If he gets to him a 3rd time, George might be going around.
Yeah, drivers have amazing memories, and that's the one thing when we're in a mood and when something has happened to us, we don't forget. And I can promise you, Anthony DeBarro is going to keep that in the back of his head all night long. And you've already said it; he's gotten to him twice. 3rd time might be the charm. He's going to try to get after him here at some point. It's going to be kind of crazy if he does. Oh, as he got loose off turn 2, and David Comstock was able to get to his outside, he's going to try to take advantage of that and move into the 3rd position.
He wants to move into that 3rd spot. The Monster is on the move, and Comstock to the outside in that white and black Monster Energy Chevrolet takes the 3rd position as Thomas George and Jeff Ward continue to pull away just a little bit. But, you know, we were talking earlier, Evan, Comstock was the fastest car on the racetrack for a while. He may be the fastest car on the racetrack yet again.
And it may have something to do with that fresh-looking number 14 that he brought to the racetrack. It looks slick. Maybe he feels a little bit faster in it, and he's closed it in. This is another car that, although he started up in the top 5, has been very, very strong, has not made a lot of noise. Maybe by our definition tonight, Jacob, that means just not bouncing off of somebody. That car is clean. He's closing in quickly within 3/10, Brian.
Yeah, we have a really, really big battle going on around the 10th position. Dan Murray, Jose Gonzalez, Chad Coleman, all these guys going at it as they go down the back straightaway here. They are 2 wide, 2 rows deep. They are having an incredible battle back here, trying to get into the top 10. All 4 of these guys hungry, and they want to try to get up there. A few of them already have wins, so they're just out here trying to get more.
They're trying to get more right now, and that's the hornet's nest that we'll keep our eye on. And I'm keeping my eye on a couple of guys further back in the pack, including Jonathan Cadell, Rhett McBride, Jimmy North, all these guys in the midst of a mess right there. Rich Jets worked his way from 34th
The 24's
up to
pushing him through the corner.
Yeah, look at this. I mean, it's a crazy battle right now back there, Evan. And Rich Jett, our Daytona winner, he's in position. If he were to somehow manage to get towards the front of the field and win tonight, he'd pick up a $50 bonus from, caution flag on the racetrack.
And just as they were starting to go at it again for P10, caution out, car in the outside wall, Brandon Peterson, the number 78 Chevrolet, turned around and, well, he kept it out of the fence, but not before contact with Nick Cohan. It looks like the number 53, Jacob. That machine is now back on track. We should note he had a connection issue, received a throughput fall to an unacceptable level, joined back in the race, multiple laps down, and it looks like Peterson got sideways off the corner at a bad time when Cohan on fresh tires was trying to make a pass, and both those drivers wrong spot at the wrong time.
Yeah, exactly. So we work under caution here now with 115 laps. Going to go into the books when we get back to the start-finish line. Thomas George and Jeff Ward, the Steel Horse Racing teammates, are still your leaders. And Evan, you know, he was our in-race reporter, and when he started on the pole, he leads the race late, and I don't know. Yeah, he gets a little irritated sometimes when we try to chat with him towards the tail end of these races. But let's see if we can't dial him up and see what he's thinking with 35 to go.
We're going to queue him up on a radio. Thomas J. George, it's Sam Pasoko, Jacob Seelman, and Brian Macklin in the booth. You got us?
Yeah, can you give me a second while I pit here?
Yeah, 10-4.
They are
We're gonna
on
let
pit
that team
road
get to
right
the
now.
radio,
Evan,
yeah.
Justin Rosenau, we'll throw it down to you.
Yeah, I was just thinking, man, it'd be a great opportunity for everybody to pit and finish out filling up them fuel tanks there, as a lot of guys are going to be close. I'm also hearing the number 14 of David Comstock going to play a little bit of tire strategy. He's going to stay out and waiting to see as the number 1 hits his pit stall. Right side's going up on that machine. Gas man grabbing a second tank of that Sunoco race fuel. Left side's possibly going up on the number 1. Yes, it is a 4-tire stop. Several drivers taking 2 tires on pit road. Gonna be a big tire strategy here, as I see about 6, 7, 8 cars possibly taking just 2 Goodyear tires on pit road.
Lot of tire strategy, Evan. You and I and Brian, we're all looking at it right here. A bunch of shuffling as people want to try and win this race.
Yeah, you got David Comstock, who stays out in that number 14 machine. He's got a couple of people behind him who are off the lead lap that were really hoping that he would pit so that they could get a wave by. That's not going to work. Anthony DeBarro, the first car out off of the pit lane, and that's going to be a 2-tire call for the number 9, just beating out his teammate, so you got 2. We saw our race leader at the time, the 1 machine, come in take 4. We got the entire stretch across the board now with inside of 30 laps to go or so. We'll be right on that mark when we go back green flag racing, and this race has just taken a major twist.
Major twist, Brian. What are you thinking? A lot of strategy going on here.
Well, I have to admit, I was really kind of surprised that David Comstock stayed out, and I felt like that was going to be a bad call until I saw how many guys took 2 tires. Now I'm not so sure that that wasn't a bad call at all. They didn't have a lot of laps on the tires, and he's got a big separation between the first guy on 4 tires, which is Thomas George. Thomas is in a big hole here. He's going to have a lot of work to do if he's going to get back up there and try to win this race. He's clearly been the best car tonight. He's led the most laps. He's been up front all night. Now he's going to have to work for it. We talked earlier about how he was out in clean air and how much easier he had it because he didn't have to fight through all the dirty air. Well, now he's going to have to do it, and we're going to see just how good his car is as he tries to work up through these guys that took 2 tires.
Yeah, and you know what? Now we'll try it again. We didn't realize they were all pitting. But let's see if we can't get him now. Thomas George, we were surprised to see so many people come down pit road, but we'll try again. You got a copy on us?
I got you.
I was surprised to see you bring everybody down, but a lot of tire strategy. It's going to leave you mired back about with a lot of work to do, around 8th position right now for the restart. And were you surprised to see as many guys as took 2 tires on this caution flag?
No, I knew there was going to be some gamblers. I even thought about taking 2 myself, but there's just too many laps to go, and I think with about the 15 or so laps these guys are going to have on their tires after we did some testing, 2 tires in the long run, if it goes green, it's going to be a bad thing for them. And I know we got a fast car here. We've probably got the fastest one. David stayed out, and they're all going to get racy up there, so I'm telling you this damn much, I'm going to the front one way or another.
We're excited to see it. We know you're going to put on a show. Good luck, my friend.
Thank you. Enjoy the fireworks.
All right, Justin, before we go green, you've got an update from pit lane.
Just checked in with the RCL Boomtown crew chief for the Cup Series, Jared Como. Put a 2-tire call on both the 9 and the 69, and they're going to play a little bit of Smokey and the Bandit up front. They want to try to get around the 14 and have somebody try to run blocker.
Oh boy, this one's about to get good, ladies and gents, so I hope you strap down your computers and your big screen TVs. Thomas George said you'd enjoy the fireworks. We're about to find out. This Service Master Clean caution going to be gone at lap 118. Restart coming at 119. Green flag going back in the air, and it's going to be DeBarro, Hemstreet backing up. Jose Gonzalez in the outside lane pin with nowhere to go, and Comstock's got a huge jump in 1.
DeBarro did not get going, and the 26 almost pushed him by his teammate. Now Jose Gonzalez is going to go to the bottom. He wants to work with Corbin Hemstreet. The 9 machine not faring well on the outside on this run. Slides back to 3rd, maybe 4th if the 26 can win. Contact, and for the 2nd time, the 9 gets shunted into the wall.
Yeah, DeBarro falling back
contact.
really quickly right here. Caution flagging out at lap 120.
Yeah, he got hit. He was in the fence. That's the 2nd time tonight. Came back down off of the wall, right in front of Chad Coleman. who saved it earlier at 45 degrees. This time, not recoverable. He gets nailed. The 2, the 5, the 23 is in it as well. The 10 car, a big, big mess down the front straightaway. And it all started with Anthony Navarro, Jacob, getting used up for the second time tonight.
Yeah, he got used up, and this time it bit him. Heavy smoke. Caution flag flies for the 6th time as we got a big melee on the front stretch. We're going to do some business, try to clear it up. We'll be back right after this on LSRTV, and we continue to see, like Thomas George said, the fireworks here at Charlotte. David Comstock, your leader.
Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks in terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska. We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among the best in the business. I'm proud of our people and what they can achieve. Trucking is in my blood, it's my livelihood, and it's what I do best.
Welcome back to LSRTV. Still trying to decipher a massive crash that's put us under caution and getting ready for a restart at lap 124. I believe 13 cars in total collected in this one. Started when Anthony Navarro in the 9 got into the wall in turns 3 and 4, came down into traffic, and it was on from there, taking out many of the top contenders inside the top 10 tonight. It set up David Comstock, Corbin Himstreet on the front row, Jose Gonzalez, Bobby Terrell behind them, the iRacing Ford First Mustang pace cars on pit road, and the American Ethanol green flag back in the air. Comstock's gone to battle for second between the meatball mobile of Gonzalez and Himstreet on top in 1.
A lot more civil this time, but they've only gone 400 yards. The bottom with the advantage. Jose Gonzalez sideways down through 1 and 2. He's got pressure the 50. How about Pedro Mojica trying to capitalize late? That car wants second. He's up the third.
Yeah, and Mojica wants more. He was loose in turn 2 last time by, but he's coming by. Working 26 to go this time. Mojica wants his second win of the year. He's looking on Gonzalez for second. Comstock's got a big lead, though. 4 car lengths in 1.
The longer they fight for second, the longer that gap is going to get. Almost contact there. 22 machine. Bobby Terrell, he gets hooked. He's hard into the outside wall. Nick Silver's in it also. Caution flag will fly for the 7th time tonight after Greg Evans drove it to the bottom. The 22 coming down the hill, chopped them off, and the super sub, the Muscle Milk Chevy's in the outside fence, and he tears up Nick Silver in the process.
And I believe that started with Silver getting into the back of him, Evan. I don't think that was all Bobby Terrell, but it did shuffle up the field, and that's going to help Thomas George in a big way. The 1 up to 4th through that whole exchange.
And again, just close quarters racing. You got a guy like Greg Evans who somehow survived that last incident. He got clipped, he spun through the grass, but was still up there inside the top 10. We know how strong that car's been. Got a little bit further back on the tire cycle, moving up through the field. Catch up on that 22 when really Terrell, what he was doing is just checking up for the side-by-side fight in front of him. And then Evans goes to the bottom. Terrell just there, they make contact, and it sends the 22 up the hill.
Okay, they were all battling there, and I didn't mean to just look at the 25 and say that it was him, but he was the first one there, so I didn't really get a good look on it. But Evan, good call there on seeing the 23 of Greg Evans in the middle of that as well.
Yeah, in that car as well, you know, you might argue if we saw the same incident 15 laps in that 23 is going to back off, but you're within 25 laps to go, and you know, it's arguably what is one of the biggest races on the Full Throttle Cup Series season. He held his line, and eventually they just tried to put too many cars and not enough real estate and just a racing deal in that one. Thankfully, both of those cars don't come sliding down, taking out anybody else.
So under caution, Brian, and we hate to see this kind of carnage in the final laps, but, you know, it looks like we're seeing one of those nights. Is it a full moon at Charlotte?
The way they're racing, you would think it is. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but as they say, cautions breed cautions, and unfortunately that's what we've seen unfold here in the closing stages of this race. I'll tell you who this has helped out the most, though, is David Comstock. He's the guy that stayed out on old tires, and he is up front with a little bit over 20 laps to go, hoping that he gets more of these cautions because he wants to just kind of coast home and get his 3rd win of the season. This is a big moment for him. He's the only multi-winner in the series so far, and he wants to continue that. He doesn't want to let anybody else get up there and win the races tonight.
No, he doesn't, and yeah, this could be really interesting to see what he can do over the final laps. But how about Jose Gonzalez, and especially Pedro Mojica, the Talladega winner, Evan? How about him up there in 3rd, looking for his 2nd win of the season? If he could just get to the top 30 in points, he'd be in the chase easy and locked in.
You know, you talk about a rookie that is still extremely new to this series. You almost want to say just by habit, wanting getting that first win. But again, they were so strong coming off of the Midnight Thunder Championship on Friday. Them, along with a couple of other drivers, migrating forward into this event and into this top tier series. And they dominated at Talladega. Fell off the week after just a little bit. They're back in full force tonight, and not without the help of that little bit of tire strategy. Smart on the pit box can make things a lot easier for you out there on track.
Speaking of pit boxes, Justin Rosenau, you're down there. It's inside 25 laps to go. We're not ready to go back green just yet, but what are they saying in the 14 pit, David Comstock?
David loves his race car, needs a couple more cautions if he's going to hold off the 1. Thomas George, the guys are going back and forth. I got to tell you, David's not the one to get nervous, but if I were him, I'd be thinking a little bit when you look back to that number 1. And he called his shot earlier, guys. He said he was a man on a mission, hell-bent to get to the front.
Oh, boy. Yeah, and that's exactly what he said. Brian, you know how George is when he gets motivated. He's on a mission. Now, I have a feeling he's going to be on a mission here. When we go back to green, lights just went out on that Ford First Pace car. We're going to have about 21 laps to go when we get the restart.
Yeah, 21 laps to go, and like you said, he is a man on a mission, and he has slowly worked his way back up from that pit strategy there where he took 4 and everybody else took 2. He fell back to, I believe, about the 8th position, and he's worked his way up to 4th, so he's up 4 positions since that pit stop. He's doing a good job. He's got the freshest tires out of these guys in the top 4. I don't know if he's going to be able to get by David. David's one of the hardest people to pass. I've raced with him for a long time. He's not just going to pull over and let you go, and he's going to race you as hard as possible to try to hold you off. So this is going to be a very exciting battle if Thomas can get up there and try to challenge him for this win. I'm really excited to see how these guys race against each other. They're going to race each other respectfully, but they're going to race each other hard, and it's going to be a blast.
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. You've got Comstock on the inside, Gonzalez on the outside, Mohique down there, George back in the mix up in 4th, Corbin Himstreet 5th, the iRacing Ford First Mustang pace car gone again. Here we go, 21 laps to settle it, green flag in the air, Gonzalez spins the tires on the restart, Pedro Mojica going by for 2nd, trying to bring Corbin Himstreet with him for 3rd in 1.
He got caught trying to be sneaky on that, tried to guess it, did not get it, and as soon as he tapped the brake, a great read by that 14 to get on the throttle. That held up the number 1. Meanwhile, the battle for 2nd is trying to go in favor of the cars that are fighting right there. It's Mojica who owns it. The 69 tried to get to the bottom. Corbin Himstreet almost 2 spots up already, and now that 26 to Jose Gonzalez going backwards quickly on the outside. He's getting passed by 2 of the patriotic paint scheme machines, Thomas J. George, Greg Evans, both of them so fast tonight, they try to capitalize late.
Yeah, we see this battle, and those 2 are both Steel Horse racing cars. In fact, the 3rd car behind them is a Steel Horse car as well. Jeff Ward coming back to the front in the 89, trying to make the move for 6th right now. Corbin Himstreet going for 2nd on Pedro Mojica, and they're all closing in on David Comstock, who did not take fresh tires. The guy on 4 is going for 3rd, Thomas George, 19 to go.
Crucial spot here because this would put him on the bottom if we do get another incident here. Everybody very tightly packed in the mid-pack. It's still not out of the equation. Gets the job done up to 3rd. And as he closes in on the 50, you go side by side. You look on board with that number 1, Jacob. He's closing in on the 50. As the 50 closes in on the 14, they're all going to beat each other here very soon.
Yeah, they are, and I believe in a battle right here, the 1 has it going away, but we're going to see. We're down to 18 laps to settle it in the World 225 at Charlotte. I'm stopping your leader, and caution flying. Trouble on the racetrack with 17 to go.
Doug Ross, number 43, is destroyed. Coming at a quarter, number 4, he got caught when the 33 just in front of him caught the outside wall. That was David Lanza's Amp Energy orange Chevrolet, somebody that we have not talked about at all tonight. That 33 was doing all right, all things considered, running P20. Great pickup from P32 where they started. You'll see the replay now, but that 33 caught the fence, Jacob. It turned Doug Roth around. He caught the outside wall, and again, because of the dogleg format of this racetrack, bounced out in front of traffic. Caution flag is out. This one happening at the back of the pack, but it was a huge move there for Thomas J. George to get 3rd because now he's going to be right behind Comstock and may not get trapped up high as he has the last 2 times.
Oh boy, gonna do a little bit of business. We're gonna go non-stop one more time here, take our final commercial break of the evening, and when we come back, green to the finish from Charlotte Motor Speedway. David Comstock trying to outlast. It's survival of the fittest at Charlotte, and the showdown under the lights is going to be inside of about 15 laps to go when we come back.
Truex is your winner over Tandy.
Welcome back to LSRTV. I'm not sure what's going on in this TV tower, but I do know we're getting set for a restart with 13 laps to go. Jacob Seelman, Evan Basoko, Brian Macklin in the broadcast booth, Justin Rosenau down on pit road. We're coming down to the closing stages of the World 225. David Comstock and Pedro Mojica are going to restart on the front row here at Charlotte Motor Speedway as we wrap up another Service Master Clean caution flag and get ready to go back green. The iRacing Ford First Mustang pace car is gone. Comstock, green flag back in the air. We're down to 13 to go, and Mojica did not get a good restart. Here comes Thomas George on 4 fresh tires. Mojica throws the block down to turn 1. They're side by side for third.
You know, though the 50 didn't get going, the one missed a big opportunity there to get to that inside of the 50 right off the bat. Now he's going to have to fight him for it with a car on the outside. Hip Street looking high for third.
Looking high for third. George, though, trying to get there. He needs to get clear. Caution again. And it looks like down the back straightaway into turn 3. Rich Jet.
Brennan Mercer's number 29 as well torn up. That's one of our biggest movers in this race, and it was, well, Brennan Mercer and Rich Jet. Those two cars made contact, and it looks like a similar situation to what we saw with Thomas J. George earlier, Jacob. Looks like the Uncle Bob Chevy on the bottom of Rich Jet got a little bit tight there late, slid up, caught Brennan Mercer, and that 29 machine was ushered into the outside retaining wall.
Ushered. I like that word.
That's the proper way of saying it.
Inside of 12 laps to go, Evan, we're learning new things. That's the word of the night right there.
I was also I could have said he cross-checked him into the outside wall. That would be my Canadian terminology, and I guess Brennan would understand that, but I figured we'd go with ushered tonight.
There you go. Replay is up now, so you see the drama between Rich Jet, Brennan Mercer, and like you said, Mercer got ushered into the outside wall. I don't know where I was going with that. We're mixing up words now, and I can tell we've had enough cautions. Justin Rosenau, you need to spare us. What are they saying down on pit road? Especially that Comstock pit box. We're getting down to it now.
Yeah, he's just trying to stay calm. That's what the crew chief's trying to do. And, man, I'm beside myself here trying to do my job and cover these guys down here on pit road, and you guys are saying all kinds of wacky stuff like LSRTV to Portes and all kinds of crazy stuff. But, man, Thomas George, he missed a golden opportunity there because, you guys, I'm telling you what, the number one at Thomas George, he needs to get the restart of his life because we're getting down to it. Get down to about 4 or so to go. It's going to be all she wrote. So the next 5 to 6 laps is going to be the key moment of this race. And for Thomas George, if he's going to follow through on what he promised, I'm going to use my catchphrase, gentlemen. No give and take. I'll grab and go and look for that 14 to be up in the fence.
All right, Evan. I should have pulled it out during the two big ones earlier in the night.
Oh, I know this one.
But if Thomas George wins this race, I don't know how he's going to do it, but it's going to happen somehow.
Well, he's going to, and again, we talked about how Mojica did not have the best restart. That one didn't either. That may be actually a saving grace depending on if Mojica's really good on the bottom, because the one was unable to get past him. That still means that he's going to be third for this restart as opposed to being up on the high side if he got the job done. This could very well be the final restart on the evening, depending on, I was going to say if the next caution, I'll say when, considering that these guys are going to be at each other's throats even more in this last stint here than they have been for the last 25, 30 laps. When that caution comes out, if it's 4 or less, we're done. That one machine does not have a lot of time. The 14, though, we've talked about how he wanted to ride out a couple of yellows to get this thing done. If he can just get a good restart, if he can read Thomas J. George and kind of leave, that number one in the dust like he did with Jose Gonzalez, where Jose tried to anticipate it, sped up, and as soon as Jose got on the brakes, he left him. That was exactly what that 14 needed. If he can get just one more of those, I don't think anybody's even going to have a shot at him.
It's going to be interesting to see. I believe we're going to go lights out this time, Brian, so we're going to have 8 laps to go on the restart. Is there any chance you get somebody like Mojica or George be able to challenge for this victory, or do you think right now it's Comstock's race to lose?
It all comes down to how good of a restart they get compared to David. If they don't spin the tires, if they time it perfectly, if they can stay close to him down into turn 1, then they have a shot. But he's been able to get away on each of these restarts since he's been the leader. He almost reminds me of what we saw out of Denny Hamlin in the final segment of the All-Star race the other night. Getting out there to a big lead on the restart, and he's just done an incredible job so far. But yeah, Pedro and Thomas, both of them have very fast race cars. If they get the restart right, they could definitely get up there and challenge him. They're running out of time, though, with all these cautions. If we get one more caution, they may not go back green. If they get one right away, they will. But if they get a lap or 2 in and then have another caution, I think we're going to be done.
We've got about 3 laps to buffer if we're going to have a caution. After that, it's game over. So what we're going to see right now is about the front 3 rows have been the ones to watch all night. But how about Stefan Marinak, the 24 car, up in 7th? Haven't talked about him all night, Evan, except for being involved in a couple of crashes. And now he's up there in this mix with a few to go.
So 9 cautions, 30-something caution laps. Is that all she wrote? We're going to find out. David Comstock in control. Pace car wants to get out of the way real quick for this one.
Green flag goes back in the air. 8 laps to settle it. Mojica doesn't go. Here comes George to the inside of the racetrack. Battle for second down into turn number 1. That may be what Thomas George needs. Comstock's got 5 car lengths, but George is clear to second.
He cannot afford a caution. Still 21 cars on the lead lap. That means 19 other of them besides himself and Comstock may get into it. They're still fighting, but he cannot afford that. He got to second. 0.2 of a second is the gap up to the 14 machine. He doesn't even have a lot of time to get to him, and then methodically try to get around him. You can catch him. Passing's a whole different story. He may have to get desperate.
That's exactly right. Justin, what are they saying in that one camp? They're where they need to be. They just got to have the time.
Yes, indeed, and George is no stranger to battling for the lead. I'm hearing it's door-to-door in 3, guys. You take it.
All right, it is door-to-door. Comstock up top, George on the bottom. This is the battle for all the marbles at Charlotte. 6 laps to settle at the stripe. Comstock tries to chop him. George is there in 1.
And he'll make it door-to-door down to quarter number 1. The advantage was Comstock. Now it's a dead heat sliding up. We've seen this before. Nose to nose. It's a drag race down the back straight away to quarter 3. Coming to 5 laps to go. Thomas J. George tries it on the bottom. A great run on the outside by David Comstock in 4. Still right there, though, is the 1 car.
Here comes Jeff Ward now, too. Ward's trying to make something happen. In the 89, it's a 3-horse race for the win down to turn number 1. And if either of these 2 slips up, Jeff Ward's going to take it. Down to the bottom, George slides up and clears him off turn 2.
And I thought that 89 was going to go to the grass on the front straightaway. He didn't. The 1 to the top spot. The 14 with a shot to the back bumper. Caution will now end it. That may be all she wrote. Jeff Ward to the inside on David Comstock. It looks like Thomas J. George may ride off into the sunset.
He may, but I'm not convinced. Ward may not have a shot at him. He pitches it down to the bottom of the racetrack. The two teammates now ride 1 and 2. Down the back straightaway they come. Ward, if he works clear, he may have a couple of laps to do something with him. Comstock coming back, though, on the high lane into 3.
89 just now getting clear. He needed to get around the 14 as soon as possible, and if he could have done it at a 2, would have been a lot better for their cause. He gets it in 4. He's got 3 laps to do it and 4.5 miles to execute. The 1 car, 2/10 to the good.
Yeah, but I think Jeff Ward, he knows what he needs to do in that 89 Yeti Coolers machine. He is breathing down the neck of Thomas George. Down the back straightaway they come. It'll be double popsicle sticks when they come back to the line. Ward methodically in turn number 3 closes the gap a little bit. Is he gonna get there?
Right up to the outside wall, almost planted it in it. He's growing on the 14, but he is not on the number 1 machine. Jeff Ward, 0.28 hundredths back with 3 miles to go. The 1 car in clean air may have everything he needs unless he throws it away.
One of the RCO Boomtown sim cars on the bottom of the racetrack, slow. It's not going to be any hindrance for the leaders, Brian. Thomas George coming to the white flag. He's 1.5 miles from his 2nd win of the year.
Yeah, Thomas did a good job getting up through the traffic there on fresh tires. Jeff Ward did get in the wall off turn 4. We got a battle for 2nd as they go off into turn 1.
Yeah, it's a battle for 2nd, but it is going to be Jeff Ward hanging on down the back straightaway for the final time, and it's going to be a patriotic car winning the Memorial Week race as we work into 3 and 4 for the final time. The good luck returns for Thomas George. The Snap-on Chevrolet's going to victory lane. Thomas George wins the World 225 at Charlotte Motor Speedway over his teammate Jeff Ward. 2nd RSR Full Throttle Cup Series victory of 2015. One of the biggest of all, the patriotic Snap-on machine. He does it here on Memorial Day week and goes to victory lane for the 2nd time on one of these 1.5 miles this season, Evan.
Well, he dedicated it to America. He's got the stars on that car, the stars in the sky aligned as well. And finally, I chose somebody at the start of the race, and it didn't bring him bad luck. The 1 machine gets the job done, started, and we criticized him. I didn't think that they were going to be able to do it, going through the field on those 4 tires with as many cautions, but they took advantage of every single green flag lap in those final 30 laps of this race, got the job done, and most importantly, they got the job done clean at the end of it. Great finish.
Great finish, and George bringing it down to the front straightaway grass, and he has burned it down. He has earned the right to here at Charlotte. Thomas George, your winner in the World 225, and we'll talk to a jubilant Steel Horse Racing team as well as the rest of our top finishers coming up in just a moment. It's the LSRTV post-race show here from NASCAR's home track in Charlotte. Thomas George, your winner. We'll be back with more after this.
Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks in terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska. We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among the best in the business. I'm proud of our people and what they can achieve. Trucking is in my blood, it's my livelihood, and it's what I do best.
Welcome back to LSRTV. These guys up here getting ready to go nuts here as we come down to the LSRTV post-race show and get ready to kick it off. Jacob Seelman, Evan Pasoko, Brian Macklin headed trackside. But first, I believe we are going to have some fun down on the pit lane with our friend Justin Rosenau, our Ford Performance pit reporter. Down there, Justin, it was a wild race, and through it all, the guy who led until late in the going comes up just short in third. You're down there with David Comstock.
I'm alongside the driver of the number 14 Monster Energy Chevrolet, David Comstock. David, a great run that you had during the race there. Did you need another caution there to hold off the one of Thomas George?
Oh yeah, definitely. I as much as I didn't want to see cautions play out to give the win, Thomas had a way better car, but we definitely needed at least one or two more cautions to keep him at bay. But he was in kind of a league of his own there, so congratulations to him.
And David, do you have any regrets about taking no tires there, just staying out on the racetrack, or did you really think that you could have did even better with just 2 tires?
Oh, I regret staying out. I saw everyone pull off down pit road, and my heart dropped because I knew I was gonna bite the bullet. But the cautions played out, and I wish I did go down take 2 tires at least, because I was ahead of DeBarro, who when he came out first out of all the guys who pitted, he had 2 tires, and I would have been in the lead, so I might have had more of a fighting chance, I feel.
And David, I noticed you had a little bit of damage on the right front corner of your car. Did you get in the wall at all during the race, and did you think even that minor slight damage had an effect on your race?
No, I didn't think it did too much as far as hurting the aero. I hit it with the right rear quarter, and it's new paint, and JD Laird painted for me, and he's not going to be too happy about that, but we at least got it on the podium for him.
That you did indeed, and David, a strong run. You know, you're always finishing up front here, and it's good to see you on the podium again tonight. Who really makes it happen for you on that number 14 ride?
I'd like to thank all my teammates here at Timmy Hill Motorsports. Brennan running with us tonight. Unfortunately, he got caught up in an accident late. So he had a really strong run going. We'd like to thank Garry Mercer Trucking and Monster Energy for sponsoring us every single week, and Aftermath Motorsports for allowing us to come over here and run this deal. And thank you to Real Sim Racing for running the league, and you guys at LSRTV for broadcasting it.
That's the driver, the number 14 Monster Energy Timmy Hill Motorsports entry, David Comstock, coming home third tonight on the bottom step of the podium. Now I'm going to send it up pit road to the guy that finishes on the middle step of the podium. That's going to be Evan Pasoko. I believe you got Jeff Ward.
We've caught up with the driver of that number 89 who came flying through late, got to second, and when it was all said and done, just half a second off of the top spot. Jeff Ward comes home with a second place finish after starting sixth in this one. Jeff, another solid run for you guys. But what a race. Couple of cautions early, long green flag stretch, competitive racing, and then that pit strategy at the end. Walk us through the thought process heading down the pit lane for the final time for that 89 team and how you guys executed with what you got.
Yeah, Evan, we kind of went. Me and Thomas was on the same game plan there. We took 4 tires and come out and seen what we could do with them. Was able to make a charge there. Thomas, he was able to save a little more than me, I think, getting through traffic. We had a couple battles there trying to get from where we was back up towards the front there. So yeah, I mean, it was I'm tickled to death with second. Thomas was in a league of his own. I think it's one of his favorite tracks, and it really showed out there tonight. So congrats for him, and Steel Horse Racing 1 and 2, man. That's awesome.
It was a great finish for you guys. You got there late, fighting with David there. You couldn't clear him out of 2. You got him out of 4, and then you said that one machine was just able to pull away. He's able to break that streak of what has been bad luck for that number 1 team. The 89 crew continues on a hot streak. Although it's not a checkered flag, again, you guys said still a solid run. You guys have a week off until we go back racing. You're going to enjoy that Memorial Day weekend break. What's the game plan going forward? Still quite a few races till you got to worry about chase time.
Oh, we'll keep working at it. Try to keep this momentum that we've had here. We've been kind of carrying the golden shoe. I'm sure it's gonna fall out of our hands eventually, but we'll try to get as many good runs as we can before that happens. And yeah, I'm just happy that we didn't get involved in any wrecks tonight. I know it's unfortunate for some of those guys, but I do feel like we kind of leaped forward in points there with the second place finish. So. Yeah, we'll enjoy Memorial Day, and I know we got a race coming up this Wednesday, so start practicing for that and just keep moving forward with it.
The very strong run for not only your team, but your entire team as well continues tonight. P1, P2 for you guys at second on the podium. A great run being top 10 late there. The strategy call, fighting through cars there, and really keeping that 89 in one piece to be there late in the race is a great accomplishment. Jeff, there's a lot of people behind the scenes, sponsors and shout-outs. Who do you want to give the opportunity to thank?
Yep. Thanks to Real Sim Racing. It's always a blast. Thanks to you guys. These broadcasts are awesome. And just thanks to friends and family.
Well, thanks for talking with us, Jeff. Enjoy your off week. We'll see you Wednesday night, and then until then, we'll see you after the break.
See you then.
Again, that is your second place finisher. Started P6, comes home P2 to a teammate. Jeff Ward comes home in second.
Now down to Gatorade Victory Lane, where I'm standing. I believe he's just climbed out of the car to a shower of celebration. Thomas George, after all the bad luck, all the drama, all the crashes that you've had over the past couple of months, finally back in Victory Lane, my friend. Second win on a 1.5 miles this season. It comes at one of what you described as your favorite racetracks. How on earth did you get back to the front in the final laps?
Like I told you in the interview there on InCar, I was going to the front one way or another.
You got there. You got around with 4 to go. Talk about that battle with David there in the final laps. You two put on a heck of a show. Did you know at that point that the 4 tires, you were going to get by him? I mean, you know how hard he is to pass in the closing laps, but it looked like he was just sliding around and you were able to plant it to the bottom there.
Yeah, I knew if we could just get, 10 laps of green flag racing, just 10, I could get around him. And we just kept having those cautions at the end. But I knew the 4 tires would come in handy if, he didn't pit, and he didn't. It just was a matter of putting ourselves in that position to get it. And I knew that after about 20 to 30 laps, which he was on old tires by that point, he was probably on 40 if I don't remember, but I just knew if I could get to him and get underneath him, I knew I could make that thing stick in the center of the corner. And I'm usually methodical and I usually save my tires throughout the long run, but with 10 laps to go, it's honestly the best feeling when you can just mash the brakes and just get right back on the throttle, especially at this track on four fresh tires. And man, that thing was a rocket ship all night.
It was a rocket ship, and were you nervous at all, Thomas, in the closing laps, trying to work through the field there, and worrying that maybe somebody was going to do something crazy around you and you'd end up getting caught in something before you could get back to the front? I mean, you restarted about 14th after you took tires the last time.
I think we restarted 8th. I can't remember right now. It was somewhere around there, but yeah, I knew the risk getting in, but the way this race had gone tonight, I should say, there was a lot of green flag racing, and I thought, you know what, if I can just make the moves. Like I said, when you pulled me up there, I knew I had a fast car, and I knew I was faster than about everybody in front of me there. That may sound egotistical, but this thing was fast. It really was, and I just had to work my way around it, and we kept getting, the only time that I really kind of thought crap was when the 9 got tagged by somebody and caused that huge melee, and I just squeaked right by it. So it was finally we got the luck of the draw tonight, and you can have fast cars, you can literally lead the most laps and do all that, but if you don't have the luck to win those races, it's just almost nearly impossible to even do it. And fortunately for us, when we were passing David there, I know he's going to race hard there, but he's also going to give me room. We've raced each other plenty of times, and it was fun at the end, but the mix of emotions going through me at that time went from nervous to just pure adrenaline aggression. I wasn't letting this one get away.
You didn't let it get away. You end up in victory lane for the second time this season, Thomas. You're locked into the chase now, my friend. As long as you stay in the top 30 in points over these next 12 races, that's got to feel pretty good.
Oh, it feels fantastic. It feels so fantastic. I know we had 2 slip away, I feel like, or at least 1 in Vegas. And to know that we have this kind of speed at 1.5-mile tracks, which are going to be a main staple of the chase, it just gives me and the team confidence. And not just me, but my teammate Jeff Ford, great job on him finishing second, and Greg Evans, another good 1.5-mile run, and even and Jonathan Cadell back, even though he got involved in that wreck, he still managed to bring it on 13. So we have the speed on 1.5-mile tracks. If we all can get in the chase, we can easily, well, I don't want to say easily, I don't want to jinx it, but we can definitely advance through the final rounds, and hopefully we'll have a steel horse race in Final Four in Homestead.
Right now, it's looking like that's purely a possibility, Thomas. Steel Horse is on top tonight, though. I know you can't do it by yourself. You were running a special patriotic scheme for Memorial Day week this week. Snap on that car. I know there's a lot of partners and people to thank. Who makes it happen for Thomas George?
Just all my sponsors on here, and my good friend Anthony Fredericks for making the base paint for this and allowing me to turn it into American paint scheme. And like I said, this one is a special one. I always want to win when I have the Stars and Stripes. We came close to Daytona last year, and this one and at Charlotte, or the other one we had at Charlotte a year ago, we could have easily won too, or I don't want to say easily, but we got caught up in that. So thank him for letting us have this, and thank all my teammates back in the shop. Thank you guys for putting this on. Thank RSR in general for putting us on every single year. Thank David for racing me clean and hard, and just everybody that makes all this possible. This is a great win. Just fantastic.
Thomas, you do it. Second win, 4th in the series, and I know it's one that you're going to celebrate for a while, my friend. Go with the team and have some fun tonight. Congratulations.
Hell yes, and thank you to all the Special Armed Forces overseas. They provide us this chance to do this. We can't do it without you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thomas George from down here in Victory Lane going to be celebrating hard tonight. He wins at Charlotte. With that, we're going to be done. I'm going to slowly work my way back up to the TV booth, but Evan Pasoko, Brian Macklin, I believe somewhere you're up there, and you've got the final full field rundown here tonight in the Queen City.
The math is very easy at the top of the scoring pylon. The number 1 started P1, and he finishes P1, completing that rough match and finally getting it back at victory lane. The snap-on Chevy takes it. That's Thomas J. George atop the pile. Talk to Jeff Ford, the number 89 Yeti Coolers machine in second, and David Comstock in third. How about Pedro Mojica? Started 16th, very quiet until the final about quarter of that race. Sneaks in for a top 5 result in fourth. Corbin Himstreet hangs on to a 5th position. Greg Evans fighting through some late race adversity with a 6th place finish. 7th to Stefan Marinak. Harrison Weidlitz in 8th position. 9th to Jose Gonzalez. Jimmy North from 20th. He rounds out your top 10.
Finishing in the 11th position was Scott Semley. He had a very quiet race tonight. We didn't hear much about him. After a very rough middle portion of the race, Adam Benefield managed to rebound for a 12th place finish. Jonathan Cadell, who was also one of those guys caught up in the huge melee off turn 4 late in the race, he finished 13th. Rich Jett finished 14th. Bobby Terrell rounds out your top 15. Chad Cole, who we thought was going to finish higher up, he ended up 16th. Mark Bratcher got 17th. 18th was Nick Silver. 19th was Sean Casto. And rounding out your top 20, Brandon Peterson. The last car that finished on the lead lap was Dwayne Vincent.
Continuing on through 21st position as Dwayne Vincent, as you said, final car on the lead lap. 22nd, Mitch Rollo. 23rd and 8th, and little Brendan Mercer in 24th. And everybody that was not on the lead lap banged up and either multiple laps down or behind the wall. Doug Roth would get it 25th. Anthony DeBarro, again, not the result that 9 team wanted. Settled for 26th. 27th to Nick Cohan. 28th, David Lanza. Dan Murray sliding to 29th before it's all said and done. And Rhett McBride with late race trouble, that number 2 machine, rounds out your top 30 laps in the negative.
Yeah, I believe all the rest of these cars out of the race in some form or fashion. 31st, John Abbott. 31st, Chad Coleman. Sorry, changing positions there at the tail end. 32nd, John Abbott. 33rd, Kevin Linden. 34th to J.R. Johnson. Christopher Hurlow was 35th. 36th, C.J. LeVere. 37th, Matt Lacrosse. Defending champ Eric Brundy's caught up in a melee and finished 38th. 39th, Paul Nicholas Cooper. And 40th was Steve Gottschalk, David Kamara, Brian Harvey, Justin Wilson in his return to Real Sim Racing competition, rounding out the 43-car field, going out after just 3 laps behind the wheel of the number 42 for Scott Stenzel tonight. That is a look at your final Ford full field rundown, powered by Ford. Go further. And as we get set to wrap up tonight from Charlotte Motor Speedway, one more time, want to take a pass down to pit road and our Ford Performance pit reporter, Justin Rosenau. What a wild night in Charlotte.
A wild night indeed, seeing several contenders going from the front to the back to the front to the back and then to the front. You know, you had several of our picks from the RCL Boomtown camp. And those guys went from the front to the back to the front, and then you see them guys on the hook in the later stages of the night. And you seen guys like Thomas George. He got relegated back there for a little bit and then come back to the front. He actually called this shot, gentlemen, a great race by him nonetheless. Nothing needs to be taken away from the competitors here that did very well here tonight. It was an action-packed evening here at Charlotte, and I seriously look forward to the next race when we get back on the racetrack. And Jacob, these guys are the best of the best, and that's what they showed here tonight.
That is what they showed here tonight. And Evan, Brian, you know, there were comers, there were goers, there were guys who got crashed and guys who came back from crashes. You know, Evan, the one that I circled was Harrison Weidlitz, who was involved in 2 or 3 cautions tonight and somehow came back for an 8th place result.
If we look at the names at the top, and when we talk about their adversity, we say the pit strategy coming through. There's a lot of guys, including, we talk about somebody that dropped out of this race, came back, Nick Cohen. Sure, not a result that they would have liked, 18 laps down, but still 27th. They're not up in the 40s. There's a lot of drivers that they knew it was going to be a hard one. 150 laps in Charlotte, 225 miles. It was rough on a lot of drivers. It was rough on our heart pressure, our blood pressure, I guess, because that was wicked up front for a lot of it, even on the long green flag stretches. And I like the fact that we got a car with stars and stripes in victory lane.
How about that? Brian Thomas George locks himself into the chase with his 2nd win of the season. Big win for that team. Snaps a bad luck streak, and, you know, that team could be scary come chase time in September.
Yeah, he is a very talented driver, and he reminds me a lot of Jimmy Johnson. When he gets onto a roll, then he's just one of the hardest guys to beat week in and week out. And when he goes to a rough stretch, it typically lasts for a few weeks. You see that with Jimmy Johnson a lot, where he has a lot of rough stretches through the summer where he has some bad races. And for Thomas, it looks like he's finally getting that luck to turn around for him, and it looks like he's going to start being a threat every single week. I'm with Evan. I'm glad to see that a Stars and Stripes car won this race tonight. You always want to see the Salute to Your Troops cars finish well, and to have one in victory lane is awesome. I want to give a shout out to some other guys. As Evan was saying, we had a lot of people that didn't start up front but managed to get a good finish out of it. I was really excited to see that Greg Evans got a top 5 out of this, or a top 6 out of this, I'm sorry. He won at Las Vegas, and I had a feeling he was going to be strong tonight, and he did a good job. He stayed out of trouble and brought home a decent finish. Also up there that got a good finish was Jimmy North. We didn't talk about him at all other than avoiding wrecks. I think we talked about him a couple of times for that. He got a top 10 out of this. He won here a couple of years ago, so to get a good finish, that had to feel good for him as well.
Great run for Jimmy North. I did want to circle that. So glad that we recognize that here in the closing stages of the broadcast. Brian, it's been a lot of fun here tonight from the Queen City, but we take a week off next Monday night to celebrate Memorial Day. So for all you guys looking for us here on LSR TV, we will be back in 2 weeks' time. 2 weeks' time to kick off the month of June. June 1st, I believe, we are going to be at the Monster Mile, the Dover International Speedway for the Monster Mile 200. It's going to be live here on LSR TV at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. But for right now, we want to throw one more congratulations out to Thomas George and Steel Horse Racing. They pick up the win tonight from Charlotte Motor Speedway in round 2 of the Real Deal Graphics Challenge, the World 225. Also, as Thomas said in Victory Lane, want to say thank you to all our armed service men and women across the nation and across the world fighting for our freedom and allowing us to enjoy what we have in the greatest nation on earth as we get ready to celebrate and honor them on Memorial Day 1 week from tonight. So for right now, for Evan, Brian, Justin, and our executive producer Laura Lawson, for Real Sim Racing, I'm Jacob Seelman. Keep it off the wall until we meet again, and we'll see you next time on the web. Good night from Charlotte.